Now let's look at a couple of special cases in the assignment problem. Okay, suppose in the previous example, so we had exactly the same number of rows as columns. Okay, what if that's not the case? Okay, so here we have how many? 7 teams that can be assigned to. One team can be assigned to just one project, but there are 8 projects. So obviously, we can only pick up 7 projects. We cannot do one of these 8. Okay, so now each assignment, okay, let's assume that these are the profits that we will make with a given assignment. Okay, now we want to make assignments of these 7 teams to 7 of these 8. We need to leave one out, and we want to do it in such a way that we maximize profit. Now this one is a profit problem, so our set target should be max and not min. Okay, and like before, so we're going to use these cells as our changing cells. Okay, zeros and ones, and 0 means no assignment, and 1 means assignment was made. Right? So once again, like before, we sum this way, and that will tell us how many assignments uh, are made for team A. Okay? And of course, we can only assign team A to just one project. Okay. All right. So that tells us how many projects are assigned to your team, and then if you sum this way, we see how many teams are assigned to a given project. Okay, now that's our changing cells. Okay. And then we have the profit. So these are the individual profits. And if you do a sum product with the assignments, then you will get the total profit that we will make. Okay, and let's use a different color code there. All right. Okay. Now, if you go to solver, okay, and then set target cell is that, because we want to maximize. Okay, and the changing cells are these, like before. Now, if we did the constraints like what we did previously, so like if we set this equal to 1 and these equal to also equal to 1, then you cannot find a feasible solution because there are only 7 teams, and one of the projects cannot get an assignment. So if you set both of them equal to 1, and you're going to get a solver error. Okay, so one of the projects, okay, is not going to be assigned to a team, so we need to permit that this range to have 0 as value. So go back. Okay, so L18 to L24, so these are the teams, and since we have enough teams to assign to one project each, that's okay. So that one is good. This one needs to be changed. We need to allow less than or equal to 1 would mean that one of these sums is going to be able to get a value of 0, and that's the one which will be left out and not assigned to a team. Okay, so that's what we have to adjust. And then of course we need to make sure that um, the integer optimality is set to 0, so you get the best assignment. Okay, and you don't need the integer constraint or binary constraint because um, the structure of the model is such that you're guaranteed to get a 0 or 1 as the possible values for the changing cells. Okay, so now we solve and we get the maximum profit, all right, and these are the assignments. Okay, now let's determine uh, to what project each team is assigned and what is the profit. Of course, you can physically look it up, but let's set up a formula so if we make changes, then you don't have to again physically look up the assignments and the formulas will automatically update it. So what we need to do is to, for each row, we need to find where 1 occurs and then we have to look up the corresponding project name. So we can use the xmatch function. So you do xmatch. Okay, so lookup value. What do you want to look up in the match? So we want to look for a 1, and that's the first row, right? So since the row here is exactly the same as here, we can just simply use this. Okay, so that's going to give me that it is the 7th item in that row. Okay, now if you have copy that here, so B is the 5th one. Okay, but we don't want the index value or the or which item is matched, but we want the corresponding project name. Okay, so what we want to do is for that match, we want to look up what's in this row. So let's we can use a function called index for that. Okay, now index we want to look at the array. So the first item is array. Okay, so that's the array we want to look at. Okay, and then which item in that array you want to look at. So that's the answer to the match. So that'll give you P7. But we want to combine these two into a single formula. So that C31, what we want to, in this formula, we want to insert the formula that we have here into C31. So in other words, so if you enclose index here, okay, we want to look at index from here, okay, D17 to K17, and we want to we need to absolute reference that. So when we copy, it'll always come from that row. Okay, comma. Okay, so the match gives us which item we want to pick up from this range. Okay, so now we have the X match nested into the index. X match tells us where the 1 is, and then from index we pick up the value of the project. Okay, so we don't need that anymore. Okay, and let's, all right, so let's make sure that this is correct. So like G is P1 and D should be P8, and that's good. Okay, next we want to look at the profit. Okay, now profit comes from here. So for each row, we want to figure out which project the team is assigned to and pick up the profit from that column. Okay. So once again, we can use XLOOKUP. Okay. So if you did XLOOKUP, all right. Now we want XLOOKUP for the project. Okay. So for a given project, okay. So if you do XLOOKUP of this project from this range, okay, and that should be absolute referenced. Okay. Now we're going to now look at P7 in this range. Okay. And as output from this, we want the profit. That again should be absolute referenced. Now, when we do that, okay, so what will happen is it'll match the project, okay, P7, and then it will give you as output that entire column because we had a two-dimensional array for output. So if this is say P8, okay, then you see the column from P8 will be the output coming from that XLOOKUP. So let me go back to where I was. Okay. But what we want from this column is we want the value corresponding with that team. So we need to now do another XLOOKUP. Okay. If you did another XLOOKUP here, okay, XLOOKUP of that B31. So and we want that team to be matched up here, right? So C31, I'm sorry, B31 is the lookup value, and we want to look up that range. Once again, that should be absolute referenced. Okay. Now that's going to give us the row that we want to look up, and this is going to give you the corresponding column for the project. Okay. Now, so that would give you the profit. Okay. Okay. Now I have a typo. X look up. Okay. So is this correct? A B P7 is 54.2. Correct. Okay. We can simply move it there. Move it here. So that's the profit. Now if I copy that across, then make sure that the numbers are okay. Okay, all right. So now, all right. So these are the profits, and then these are the profit for each assignment, and that matches with the answer that we got from solver. Okay. So we use match and then nest it into index to find the project of the assignment for the team, and then we use 2x lookups to find the profit. Now what if we have more rows than columns? Okay, so we'll look at that next.